I feel seen. This is a phrase that has become popular, especially in the social media world in recent years. When we see a post or a video or a meme that describes something of our own experience of the world, hashtag I feel seen. Our youngest brought home an art project a few years ago. He'd made a hedgehog out of a blue slime-like material with dry spaghetti noodles as the quills, and he gave the hedgehog a name. His teacher wrote it down on the bag that he brought it home in. The name read simply, "My Mom." My mom, the blue slime spaghetti quill hedgehog. And there was something that spoke to me about being represented in this way. So I posted the picture of the said hedgehog and said, "I feel seen." I think it resonated with other moms and parents. So this is how those I feel seen connections are made. Mostly lighthearted, connections found in our experience as parents or millennials, as Gen Xers or Tennessee fans, bedtime procrastinators or the babies of the family. They are important words, though. I feel seen. Take a moment. Think beyond the lighthearted. Reflect a bit deeper than the blue slime spaghetti quill hedgehog. Think of a time when you felt seen, when you felt deeply known, when the people or person whom you were with held you, held all of you, the fullness of you, in a spirit of reverence and care. I've shared the story with you before of the woman who saw me on a flight out of Atlanta with Rowan to meet Matt in New Hampshire. I'll summarize it in brief if you missed that story. I was a first-time mom traveling alone with my not yet 2-year-old. The stroller was already in New Hampshire and the trains were down at the Atlanta airport, and so I ran in the summer heat and humidity that was very much inside the building, ran with all of the carry-ons and my child, who was also not thrilled about this experience. We both arrived at the plane in tears, and then there she was. This woman who saw me, who saw Rowan and chose to accompany us on our travels. Turning on that cool air above us, making sure that each of us had water, walking with us to our connecting gate even though it was not her own. This woman honored us with a reverential attention that years later still astounds me, still transforms me. I felt more than just seen in this woman's presence. I felt holy. I felt beloved. We have a story today from the Gospel of John about how Jesus sees us, and about how Jesus invites us to see one another. It is a story about holiness. It is a story about belovedness. Jesus sees Nathanael coming towards him. And remember, Philip has invited Nathanael to come and see. Jesus has already called Philip to follow him and be his disciple. And in Philip's first act of evangelism, he finds Nathanael and he shares the good news with Nathanael. We have found him. We have found him about whom Moses and the law and also the prophets wrote. Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth. You can feel Philip's enthusiasm. His earnestness in this moment is so apparent. Sharing this message, we have found him. But Nathanael has his doubts. Because what good can come from Nazareth? Philip hears the question, but he does not argue. He does not push back. He simply offers the invitation, come and see. Come and see. And then we get to this part in the story where Jesus sees Nathanael coming. Jesus sees Nathanael because Jesus is acquainted with all of Nathanael's ways. Jesus knows Nathanael's every move. Jesus discerns Nathanael's thoughts from afar. Because Jesus is the eternal Word. That's what we heard 2 weeks ago from the beginning of the first chapter of John. That Jesus is the eternal Word who was with God in the beginning and who created all that is. Jesus, the eternal Word, knit Nathanael together in his mother's womb. And now Jesus, the eternal Word, has become flesh and is living among us, and today he sees Nathanael coming towards him. And Jesus knows Nathanael. From Nathanael's very beginning, Jesus knows Nathanael's doubts and skepticism, his bias and prejudice. And Jesus chooses to see and greet Nathanael as holy and beloved. Here is truly an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. Jesus names Nathanael as faithful and sincere because Nathanael is those things, even as he also carries his doubts. Instead of greeting Nathanael with contempt or judgment, Jesus reflects Nathanael's belovedness back to him. I have searched you out and known you, Jesus tells Nathanael. I see your steadfastness and your honesty, and we'll work together to transform the rest. Now, of course, if we look, that's not actually what Jesus says, but that is what's there. That's what's infused into this moment and into Jesus' choice to name Nathanael's belovedness. I see you. And because Jesus sees Nathanael, Nathanael can see Jesus. Not as the seeming nobody from the backwater of Nazareth, but as the Son of God, the King of Israel. And then Jesus tells Nathanael that this is only the beginning of what he will see. Only the beginning of the transformation that will continue to unfold in himself and in all of creation. Just wait, Jesus says. Heaven is only beginning to break in. You will see greater things than these. Jesus sees Nathanael. And Jesus sees all of us as he sees Nathanael today. Jesus sees us as holy, and Jesus names our belovedness. And Jesus also invites us to see each other in the same way. Before Jesus sees Nathanael coming towards him, remember that it is Philip who finds Nathanael. We've rehearsed this story already. Philip shares the good news. Nathanael is skeptical, and Philip says, "Come and see." Already a follower of Jesus, Philip does not offer contempt or judgment. He does not affirm his own enlightenment and leave Nathanael to stew in his ignorance. Philip sees Nathanael, and he invites Nathanael to come and see. Philip stays curious about the beloved person that is in front of him. And that curiosity word is a good one, and for any Ted Lasso fans, Coach Lasso did have it right. Be curious. Philip recognizes that Nathanael is a holy mess. But he recognizes it because Philip knows that he is also a holy mess. A holy mess in need of being seen and named by Jesus, by the Word made flesh and living among us. Nathanael may be limited and wrong in his original certainties about what good can come from Nazareth, but Philip chooses not to be limited and wrong in his original certainties about Nathanael. Come and see. And Philip and Nathanael walk together towards Jesus. Holy messes, holy mysteries, seen and known by one another, shining with the radiance of Christ's glory. And that's the image. Philip and Nathanael walking towards Jesus, shining with that light. That is the image we prayed for in our collect today. That we might be a people illumined by what we see and find in Jesus, that we will then shine with the same light of Jesus. That we would shine with a grace-filled curiosity about one another. That we would shine with the knowledge of our own belovedness and of the belovedness of our neighbor. That as followers of Jesus, we navigate the world as bearers of the light. It's the Epiphany image, bearers of the light. New York Times columnist David Brooks had a book published this past fall. The title of the book is How to Know a Person. The subtitle of the book is The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen. And in his work and research for the book, Brooks talks about two kinds of people. Those who are diminishers, as he calls them, and those who are illuminators. And this is what Brooks says about the illuminators. They're here to call you by name, as beloved. They see who you are becoming before you do and provide you with a reputation you can then go live into. Does that sound familiar after our gospel reading today? Jesus sees Nathanael coming towards him, and he says, "Here is truly an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." Jesus sees who Nathanael is becoming, and Jesus offers Nathanael a reputation that he can now go live into. Now, I do not think David Brooks set out to encapsulate the Epiphany theme of light and discipleship, but he did a mighty fine job. Jesus calls us to be illuminators in this world, to follow him as illuminators in this world. To be disciples that have a persistent curiosity about other people, that shine the brightness of our care on people and make them feel bigger, respected, lit up, to make them feel holy, beloved, and seen. As Jesus sees us, holy, beloved, and seen. And so we might, as we just did in our MLK Remembrance Walk, remember the refrain of the old gospel song, It's a children's song, also taken up by the great illuminator in Martin Luther King and others in the midst of the civil rights movement, to let our light shine. To let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.